fellows and fellowesses. I got a new hat. Check it out. I made it myself. Leather patch, and it's got some chicanery and beardedness stuff going on there. I don't know how I'm gonna mass produce them because it's a pain in the hind to sew it up on the hat. It's all hand stitched and wax string and all that great fun stuff. But today I upgraded that bow that we were talking about because the line was deteriorating in steel. So I talked about making my own bow line and stuff like that. So that's what I did. Made my own bow line, and it's kind of hard to show you here, so I'm gonna pause this and then I'm gonna turn the camera around so you can see it. All right, so destroyed the shop again, making all kinds of other stuff, but basically tied it off right where the steel cable was and made it adjustable so that I can adjust the tension. Now this is probably 15 pounds lighter than the steel cable was because the first time I cranked it back with the same power that the steel cable was wrapped to, I bent the bow and I thought I actually broke it, but ended up heating up the PVC again, and there she lives again. And look at here, I got that rail up with PVC, and you know how I did it? I just heated it up, squished it down, big piece, and zipped off the fat ends, and made it nice and straight. So now it glides across there, and I don't have any issues with it at all eating up anything. So hopefully this will last a lot longer. And yeah. All right. So anyway, how I made that line was I used some 50-pound Daiwa braided line. My dad swears by Daiwa stuff, Daiwa reels, Daiwa poles, Daiwa lines. We used to use them as kids, like all the time, almost exclusively. The pack rods, little guys that fold down to about a foot, and you pack off in the wilderness in Colorado, and you go catch big old trout and itty bitty streams. It was amazing, great. What a great tool they are. So anyway, I just happened to find some Daiwa stuff, and I bought it down at a local shop. So I wanted to support those folks because, you gotta support your local folks and keep everybody going. But one of the things that I want to test today is the accuracy and if it still veers when it goes through the air. So we're going to cock this up and see if we can get that cardboard box over there. Apparently we can hit the cardboard box. Let's do that again. That was a lot of fun. Switch this over from a steel cable to the synthetic cable. It probably lost a lot of power because the steel cable doesn't flex, but this cable does by design. So we'll see. And what may end up happening too is the cable may stretch in certain spots and not in other spots. So I may have to restring this a couple times just to keep it consistent and consecutive. And 2 for 2. Nice. Good shot. Got to go out and shoot the crossbow a couple times with real arrows. There's a couple little things that I find a little strange. I might be able to rectify later on, but this fletching elevates the arrow, and when it's held down, does this wheelie. like this on the rail. So I'm gonna have to find a way to either hold it down further into the shaft, right? So the fletching passes underneath the hold down, or make that compatible for the fletching on it so that it sinks lower and straight. Not really sure how I'm going to do that yet, but this thing is ready for the screaming worm. And Sunday, I'm going to take this out with the bobber and the screaming worm, and we're going to outfit it. And I'm going to outfit one pole with the rest of this 50-pound test, so that I don't fling it in the air and it goes tonk, and then there goes my arrow and all that. No. So we're going to do that, and then what we're going to do is see if we catch any fish on Sunday. So yeah, stay tuned. Just reviewing these videos and stuff, I just think I might have solved that fletching problem. So the fletching is at an angle, right, 33 degrees. See how it's flattened out a little bit? So what if I just took my sander and sanded down each rail so that just the shaft fits on it and it gives leeway for the fletching? I think that's a winner chicken dinner right there. So I think that's the next step. Luckily I made this bow able to be released, and I could take it off and put anything I want on it, or make any modifications or anything like that. And you know what, this new crossbow is doing such a good job that I'm going to make a little creature comforts. I might carve in a couple places for finger grips and make it a little prettier, and might sand it down a little bit. It's not going to be perfect because it's real rough still, but I might actually stain it, and there's this stain technique that I want to try that I'll show you folks, is sunburst, and my cousin Jake described that and kind of taught me how to do that. So well, in theory, and so I'll give it a shot and see if it works. I guess they use the sunburst stuff for guitars and things like that, because it's basically a dark stain, and then you sand off what you want to burst, and then you put a light stain over it, and what it does is it fades from the light stain to the dark stain, and just it's called a sunburst, and so it's supposed to be pretty cool looking, I don't know, I've never done it, but I'm used to staining, so we'll see. I think it'll be a pretty neat little project, and it can't hurt. I mean, you show up with a crossbow that looks like this, people are gonna, what are you doing, man? But it's a fun little project, so we'll keep on keeping on. All right, it's creature comfort time. So we're gonna mess with those rails a little bit, and we're going to change up the stock a little bit, and then we're gonna sand it down and see if it's worth staining or not, and go from there. So right here, you can see that I honed down those rails, and now the arrow fits right there without lifting off, so that's good. I'm making a wrist hold. It's going to be all rounded out so that your hand can fit in there, and so that it's nice and comfortable to grab the trigger. And then I'm going to use this cool looking pattern here, and I think it'll be real neat when it's stained up. So yeah. Alright, so getting the handle put in there, I noticed that I kind of was thinking backwards when I quickly cut out the profile of this guy, but that gave me an opportunity to expand my stock. So I had a couple little bolt all thread laying around. I just zipped a couple holes in here, and then put this full of Gorilla Glue, and it'll take about 2 hours to cure. And then it'll be a nice cheek rest, and it'll be level with my eye across the top. So it's starting to come together. And then that beautiful side is going to be showing this way. And then I'll kind of round round off these sharp edges a little bit, just make it a little more pretty, but you know, for the most part it should look like it belongs there, like an extension. And unfortunately Gorilla Glue won't be able to make this adjustable, but maybe that's something for next time. Maybe we'll put slotted holes or something here and be able to clamp that down with, like, you know, a washer and bolt or something, but next time. And I zipped off these guys so that they're all flush. I'll probably have to glue them down so they don't come undone, and then I'll work on this guy and kind of round this out and make this nice and something worth holding on to there. And then I'll refine this a little bit and make it a little more gradual, and then we'll work on sanding and staining. Huh, look at that. I'm reading the instructions. I know, I said I never read the instructions before, but you know what, this is a new tool. I've never used one of these tools before. It's an oscillating saw and sander and all kinds of stuff. I figured I could use one. Kind of like a Sawzall. I've used a Sawzall a bunch of times, demolition, construction, all kinds of stuff. But never used one of these. So I'm gonna pretend like I can read, and then I'm gonna assemble this silly thing, and who knows, this thing might be pretty good for getting all the crevices and stuff like that. I've never tried it. I've never used it, but it'll be an experience. And I also got myself a new vise. I mean, it's not very expensive, and just gives me a place to hammer and I'll hold things up, because I've been using the wood vices to hold things on a whim. So hopefully that helps me out. I'll probably make a sanding box so that I can put all my tools, sanding tools and stuff in the box. So whenever I'm going to finish stuff or do stuff like that, then I can reach for that instead of making the shop so much of a mess, and start training myself to be a little more organized, because creativity really is horrible for being organized. You jump into the next thing and you leave this thing out and you leave this thing out. So when it comes to clean up, you're cleaning up like the whole shop. So I gotta train myself to be a little bit better about that, and yeah, we'll get there. But on to sanding. So I thought this was important to say. If I get a new tool that requires another tool to take on and off the blades, I usually affix it to the cord, just kind of like you see on the old drills. You'll see that, and then that way you're not ever fumbling around to find the tool that you need. It's always there with you. Duct tape works pretty good if it's good, strong, solid duct tape, and zip ties work really well too. But you know, something that gives you the ability to find this tool instead of digging in your drawers and stuff like that when you're moving around, and it helps efficiency and all that great fun stuff. So I thought that was important to show. All right, we're gonna learn together. So got this attached to it, kind of lined it up at the end here. So I suspect, just like anything else, like a Dremel or anything else, if you don't align this so that it's got just a little bit of meat on the outside, you can end up tearing up this little pad right here. And I think they're more delicate than they let on. So I think this is a 100 grit sandpaper. So we're just gonna, oh, look at that, look at how cute it is, so cute. Alright, so I have a couple leftover stains just hanging out in the shed. Look at a dark, I think this is like a walnut or something like that, and then this is an old Cabernet. So let's try to use the Cabernet as the burst, and then this stuff to try to get the good coat. And basically what I did is I just sand this real rough. I mean, this is just so silly rough, and you know, if you had somebody that was really good at stains and stuff like that, they would tell you that I'm doing it completely wrong, and they would be absolutely correct. I'm doing this absolutely wrong. But because this frame really doesn't matter, it's pine, and you know, I'm just going for experimental purposes. We're just gonna rough sand it. I think I used 220 grit. We still got a bunch of little impurities and junk like that, but you know, I sanded it off pretty good. You know, and we're just gonna stain it up rag wise. You know, that's always the best if you're looking for the wood grain. Always use a rag. Never use a paintbrush unless you're gonna rag off. And that goes just about for any wood. What happens with that is the penetration level. The harder you soak it in, the deeper it goes, the more you have to sand to get it to come back out. So I'm gonna go ahead and start applying, and we'll go from there. Alright, she's pretty well stained up there. I left these open spots open. I think I'll do it with the other color, or just maybe leave them natural. Got a couple little spots we need to get, but for the most part, that's it. That's how we do that. And then what we'll have to do the sunburst, in theory, is just get wherever we want to burst. So we'll have to figure out what we want to do there. Maybe around the handles and a couple little interesting spots. Maybe in the back where that interesting grain is. We'll get that and make that look all nice and tidy. But interesting also to note that the PVC took stain. That's I didn't know if it would. I left it pretty rough on the outside there. But hey, that's something we learned, isn't it? So we got the stock all stained up. We'll let it cure for a couple minutes here, and then we'll sand off some of the other grain, and then we'll apply that and see if it bursts. Alright, so I'm going to use a little tiny paintbrush to get into the little spots here where I don't want to see the grain, but I want to just kind of cover up the white a little bit. And that'll make things a little more interesting, you know, and make it easier to get into the small spaces. But again, if you want to see the grain, you want to use a rag off method to use stain. So I'm going to go ahead and get this down here. So I sanded just lightly a couple places to burst, just to test. Like I said, I've never done this before, so, and this is kind of a darker stain to do this, so it might not actually work very well. Yeah, look at that. actually put that nice red, almost pink tint into it. I noticed that other stain, that other rail, PVC kind of took on the stain. Now, I don't know if it's going to be permanent, but I gotta goof around a little bit, maybe try to stain this guy. Maybe make it kind of like wood. You can almost watch that shellac dry on it. See how shiny it is with that shellac? It just brings it all out. You know, listen, if you plan on making something awesome and amazing, shellac is the wrong thing, and here's why. It's like a spray paint. Even if you use a brush-on technique and stuff like that, it will run on you. So, in order to do it, you have to be in very particular conditions. You have to be able to control the run, dab off the excess, really have a controlled drying environment. Shellac is great for quick projects like this, but it is not great for professional work. If you want professional work, you're going to go with lacquer. You're going to go with something that takes a while to cure. Even two-part epoxies, people use. I use them for pistol grips, actually. It leads a very smooth finish. But shellac will not. Maybe in small quantities it will, but when you're looking for the professional finish, shellac's not the way to go. It may look impressive right now, but it is, to somebody that knows finishes and knows what the end product should be, shellac will embarrass you. Alright, so I took some scrap PVC pipe. I wanted everybody to be aware of this. If you try to make a bow with PVC pipe that when you heat does this, it very well could shatter. This is impurity in the PVC stuff, so just be cautious of that. The other thing is I'm making jaw protectors for my new vise with PVC. So what you do is you heat it up, you know, and then to mold it, you need something that's flexible. So I use one of these, you know, sanding pads, because it's like a sponge, and then you can push down and use the, you know, the thermal properties of this to protect your hand, but also it's firm enough that it doesn't burn you. and then it molds to the jaw so that the next time you slide this in, it holds on to the jaw. How about that, huh? That's pretty handy. Alright, there you go. It's little PVC protected jaws. Right there. Clamps real nice. Protects your wood. All that great fun stuff. So, yeah. And removable. If you wanted to get rid of them and just clamp something down, but it sits right there. Right? Sits right on there. Won't move. Custom made. There we go. What do you think about that? So remember I was telling you about calibrating the bow. So this is dead center, one shot before, and this is dead center cocked. So that means it's walking one way. Remember I said I might have to restring this bow several times to get it consistent. So we'll see. Remember to stay tuned, like, subscribe.